are listening to Next Level Thinking on St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9.
Welcome back, listeners, to Next Level Thinking. I'm your host, Stephanie Hassett, and I have Caroline and Sanne with me here today. This is our last and final segment in which we're going to teach you some mindfulness tools and techniques. Now, we're not going to give you a complete training, but we do want to give you some techniques that you could use for yourselves. Yeah, on the go or at home or at work, just for you. So what are some techniques? What can we do to incorporate mindfulness in our daily lives? Basic techniques.
Well, Caroline mentioned before that there are a lot of apps you can download and meditations that you can look up on the internet. Guided meditations, you can follow them. You have meditations that just take a few minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. You have meditations that take 45 minutes. So there is a lot going on the internet that you can find, but it's not only about meditations, as we mentioned before. You can practice mindfulness, as we said, driving in your car and looking around, being aware of your surroundings. But you can also do that while you're walking down the road to your job, for example.
I really like that exercise that we had in our own training, which was just pick out a basic thing, a basic daily activity.
Indeed.
And try to do that more mindful. So do that purposefully, so with intent, in the here and now. Don't let your mind wander off while you're, for example, brushing your teeth. But be there and feel how the toothbrush is brushing every teeth. It might sound silly, but do this a couple of times, guys, and it does help.
I don't think it sounds silly because what I used to do a lot is while I was brushing my teeth or taking a shower, those are the moments in the morning of the day where I'm going to start thinking about, okay, what's on my schedule today? Did I prepare those sessions or did I do this? I need to remind myself of whatever. I was thinking a lot during those moments. And while we were practicing mindfulness and we started doing those daily activities in a mindful way, that just completely changed my day, the start of my day.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. I do it now for giving the watering the plants. And that really helps me to just have that moment because I really recognize what you're saying, Sana. In the morning, it's get ready for the day. And that means what am I going to do? And going into that future mode, into that doing mode and making all these lists in my mind. And I'm not actually enjoying my morning, that moment itself. And then I would wonder, why am I grumpy when I'm at work? Why am I stressed out already? It's only the start of the day. But because I didn't get a chance to kind of just be in the moment.
You worked through your whole schedule in just one hour in the morning.
Exactly. Yeah? So now before I leave, I water my plant. And I do this very purposefully. I walk up to the plant. I talk to my plants because I heard that's a good thing to do. So I talk to the plant.
For the plant or for you?
Well, for both of us, I guess. I guess the plant grows and it keeps me sane. No. So I water the plant and I talk to it and I look at it and I kind of just see. I check if I see new leaves growing or if I see a difference in length. And it really helps me to be there in that moment with that plant. And my thoughts are nowhere else. And then I can start the day. If I skip that, but then if I watered my plant, I can start the day.
But I do remember also that when I try to practice the part like going on the beach and doing the walk and really slow down for a moment, then I was like, oh, and there goes my mind again. Oh, see, I cannot do it. It's so difficult. And that is also something you got to realize. It's a practice. It's like going to the gym.
Yes.
And training your attention muscle,
right?
Your focus,
right?
And see it as a muscle, and it needs to be trained. You have to do the practice over and over and over again to strengthen it. So the first time I would lift some weight in the gym, I couldn't even have that full weight that I'm using nowadays, for example. I have to build that up. And that's the same with mindfulness. So it's also good to realize that when you do that exercise and it doesn't really work immediately, you're like, you notice your mind wandered off already, like to the evening, whether you have for dinner or should you still do groceries or whatever, that is okay. That is actually part of the practice. And then again, go back to the activity, what you were doing, focus on that part. So kind of practice having your mind wander off and pulling it back, wander off and pulling it back. So in that sense, training your muscle of mindfulness.
Right, because mindfulness is not necessarily that your brain has to be empty. It's not that, okay, I'm not going to have any thoughts right now. it's, as you're saying, you're training a muscle. When I'm exercising, I'm feeling my muscles. And if I'm not feeling them, I'm not doing it well. So when I'm practicing mindfulness, when I'm being in the here and now, I should be aware of my thoughts. I should notice that they're there, because that's when I'm actually doing it.
Yes, but then rather than jumping on that train of thoughts,
Exactly.
staying behind, looking at the train passing by,
Yeah,
just
and if you
noticing
jumped-
what's going on.
If you
Right.
jumped on it, then okay, jump off it again. Jump on it, and jump off it. So in that sense, also see it a little bit as a game, an exercise, and that can help.
Definitely. So being mindful is kind of being aware of everything that's going on, being aware of where your thoughts are going towards. And as Sana said, try to just look at them from a distance, try to see them and let them continue. And as Caroline said, if you mistakenly did go on one of those thoughts and you did wander off, then just as soon as you realize it again, you get back off that thought. So how that would work in practice when I'm watering my plants, of course, sometimes I wander off and I think about, what's the time? I have to go soon. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm thinking again about the day. Wait, I was here with my plant. Let me go back to my plant. So that's how you kind of go back and forth and train yourself.
And you got to create some time during the day, also some moments, because, when you're busy and you have an appointment at 4:00, of course, you cannot be there at 4:15 because you're being mindful for a moment. No, that's no excuse. You got to also create some time during the day to do those exercises. So it's also planning a little bit.
Right, because there are specific exercises, as Sana said in the beginning, there are apps. And those exercises, you should take your time to do them. So most of them are meditation exercises, which tell you either to sit down, lie down, and they have the instructions of what they expect you to do. Some is breathing, or paying attention to your body and the sensations in your body. But it's good to take time for that and to schedule. You have some that are short, 5 minutes. You have some that are up to 40 minutes. But schedule a moment for yourself that you say, let me do a short one, for example. And I'm going to take that time and I'm going to meditate. And not right after. It shouldn't be like, okay, I'm going to stop for 5 minutes, meditate quickly, and then afterwards quickly go back to what I was doing. It's like take a half an hour. And in that half an hour, you meditate for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And you can also listen to some inspirational podcasts about mindfulness, or on the YouTube, there are a lot of movies and talks about it. And that can also be of help sometimes when you're not ready to do the practice yet, to kind of let yourself be inspired. And I think that's also a good thing to do.
And it's actually mindfulness. It is something that you do for you as an individual, but also think about how it connects us. Because what about mindful listening?
Definitely.
When we talk to somebody, do we actually listen, or are we waiting for the chance for,
To tell our story.
Yeah, to jump in?
What?
I think that happens a lot.
Yeah.
That we're actually waiting, like, okay, I heard one word that you said. I want to tell a story about that. And we're not really listening.
No, because then your mind wanders off to your experience, like, oh yeah, I'm going to share this and I'm going to share that.
Yes.
And you're not listening anymore.
Yes.
And what about the simple moments in the morning? I mean, you're brushing your teeth, but maybe you have to brush your daughter's hair. That can be a painful thing. Your daughter will be screaming there, mommy, stop. And you're like, oh yeah, but I have to rush to work. That could be a mindful moment too.
Yeah.
Like a bonding moment, even if it's painful sometimes.
For both sides, exactly. For daughter and for mother. To take that time and to do that patiently, purposefully.
Oh, before we forget, we got some good news to share. As mentioned in the beginning of this episode, the members of APAP SXM has been trained in mindfulness. This was done with support of the Dutch government after the hurricane, in light of strengthening the local professionals in mental health. We also had the opportunity to train our members in cognitive behavioral therapy and EMDR, a psychotherapy intervention to process trauma, anxiety, and negative beliefs about yourself. And in the summer, we rounded this all off. And it was great. We are now also better qualified and trained to support our clients. A very great project that we were able to do. And thanks again to the Ministry of Volksgezondheid, Welzijn and Sport, who has helped us a great deal with that. But it gets even better. We wrote a project proposal for the Dutch, the National Disaster Funds, the Nationaal Rampenfonds, and they offered us finances to be able to provide free mindfulness trainings to the community of St. Martin. So, we just started with that. I think in August was the first training, and then we're continuing till April next year. We're going to do 5 groups. And so 100 people are able to do free training outside of insurance or anything. It's just for everybody available. So that's pretty cool, right?
Definitely. Definitely. So what we discussed this episode about mindfulness is that this is a way of thinking, of processing, of experiencing life around you. It's something that everyone can benefit from to use this in their daily lives, but it's also something that we as psychologists use to help our clients deal and cope better with struggles in their lives. Now, we taught you some techniques, right? We told you, hey, try to be mindful in the morning by just picking out a daily activity and doing this in a very conscious way, for example, or walking in a mindful way. But also one of the trainings, try and see if you can get into one. And if not, try to see if your therapist or if someone in the community offers those mindfulness courses. Now, if you want more information about mindfulness and where you can find it and where you can get it, you can always go to our website on our Facebook page. So go to www.apapsxm.com or on Facebook, APAPSXM, and you can read more about it or find more about it or contact us and ask us a question. So thank you all for listening today to Next Level Thinking. This program has been made possible by the Ministry of Public Health and BCOM. Next time we'll discuss happiness, so don't forget to tune in again to Next Level Thinking on St. Martin Government Radio 107.9 to learn more about the curious and fascinating ways of why we humans do what we do.
Next Level Thinking.